What's up, guys? Hope everyone's having a good evening. We'll get started in one moment here. Just gonna give everyone hopefully a chance to join in and watch, and we'll get started. Let's see. I think we got a few folks out there. Let me load a few things up here. So for those that are already here watching, just give you a quick little insight into kind of like what we're gonna do, and that is get ready for the upcoming Super Trunk Show that's taking place this weekend, October 14th in New York City. I'll put a link maybe in the description here that'll give you all the details. But for that Super Trunk Show, excuse me, I am attending, and I'm going to be helping out Acme Shoemaker, one of my favorite shoemakers, and representing or like managing their booth at the show. So they sent me a whole bunch of shoes to to put on display and kind of talk to everybody about at the trunk show. And part of what I wanted to do ahead of the trunk show is obviously just make sure that everything arrived safely in the shipping, and just kind of like touch things up, just kind of make sure all the shoes look nice and presentable. And I figured I would kind of give everybody maybe a glimpse into not what that process is, but a glimpse into that process to kind of get a sneak peek at what shoes or what you could expect to see if you are planning on going, or maybe you weren't planning on going and maybe you will after this. But yeah, let me go ahead and just open up some of the wax paste polish here that we're going to use to shine up some of these shoes, and we'll kind of jump right into things. So let me see if I can get an idea who is... there we go. Yo, what's up, Alberto? How are you? You still could, man. There's only a few days left, so... Well, not a few days. Yeah, maybe a few days left, but there's enough time. I don't know if I would drive from where you are, but you could definitely catch a flight. Maybe I'll even do this. There we go. All right, so I've got three tins of paste or wax polish here. That's always fun, not being able to open the tin. But this is Pure Polish Products High Shine Paste. Hopefully we'll get a nice little like focus in here. Maybe not. Maybe so. All right, we'll move on here. But yeah, so this is... There we go. Well, that didn't work out as planned, but yeah. So we got the Pure Polish Products High Shine Paste here. That'll jump back in a second. And then we can leave that open. We've got the brown wax paste. Hopefully you can see that there. And then same thing right there. And then we've got the black paste polish. And I just figured like those colors will be more than sufficient to cover the different shoes that that I'm preparing for the trunk show here. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll take a look at all the shoes here as I am getting ready to shine them. So 1 second here. Anybody, so I know Alberto was hoping to go, but is not able to. Is anybody else planning on going? Anybody else, at least like in the area, hope to be able to go? Maybe, maybe not. All right, cool. There we go. All right, so just I'll bury the lead a little bit and put these boots off to the side. Those are mine, but what we've got, these are the boots and shoes that are on the table here are obviously like some of my favorites and some of the ones that I've already kind of had out, kind of getting ready. But this is the first pair here, and this is this is a whole cut Chelsea boot in a brown patina. I don't know the exact name. I have a list of all the specifics, like the last and all that kind of stuff. But this is just a very like sleek, nice like square chiseled toe, and this is a whole cut Chelsea boot. So clearly, there's no seams anywhere except for right on the back, which need to clean up my camera work here. But yeah, so this is just an absolutely like beautiful Chelsea boot that I really like. I didn't like it as much in the pictures, but seeing this in person, really enjoying that. So I gotta just finish like buffing up that toe. But this other one, this is a seamless whole cut fall wingtip or full broke or Adelaide. It's a bunch of different things. Let me move that out of the way so you can get a better look at this. So this is a single piece of leather. You know, if you go around, there are no seams on this whatsoever, and just a very, so it's a beautiful piece of shoemaking. Definitely the patina is not necessarily like my taste, but I can definitely appreciate like how clean and how difficult of a shoe this is to make, and just like the lines and, you know, just it's pretty amazing. This is definitely one of the more impressive like patterns and styles that Acme is able to make, that, you know, is a very like classic style and pattern from the standpoint of being a seamless whole cut. But Acme definitely kind of has their signature and their kind of like stamp like all over this, as far as just the exaggerated like last very like aggressive stance and patina. So definitely a pretty cool shoe. And I'm gonna polish these up here in a second, but just wanted to show you at least what I've got out on the table so far. This one, for those that have watched the podcast maybe a couple times or a couple episodes of the podcast, this one is the contest boot that Acme, that Acme made and entered into the World Championship of Shoemaking that was in the London Super Trunk Show earlier this year. And, this is a pretty impressive shoe. So this is a seamless whole cut Balmoral boot with this like chain stitch Balmoral line. And then it's got a really like crazy, almost like a woodsman heel. I don't know why I'm thinking like, boot making, but just the bottom work and everything that kind of goes into making a shoe like this is just incredible. It is a very impressive piece of shoe or boot making, whatever you want to call it. But this thing has been shined up to the highest level possible, and just need to kind of clean that up and make it look as presentable as possible. Let me see if I can get this to like focus in on the stitches here, but like the stitch density that you see is just unreal. It's probably not gonna do it because of how like black and reflective this surface is here, but let me see if I can trick my camera here. You know what? We'll pick up on that a little bit later on. But yeah, so those are the first few, and probably can't see over here, but I've got a whole like suitcase of like 30 different shoes. So just hang out for a bit, and we can chat, and I'll get on to the rest of these in a second, and I'll get on to this pair of boots here as well, which that's probably my favorite, but that's just my personal bias because those are my boots. Let's see who else is out there watching. Hey Danny, how are you? Are you in the area, or just like you wish you were able to go, but it's just not like a feasible thing to do? I mean, I know it's I know a lot of people that definitely were hoping to go, and maybe they still will, but I know, it's also a Saturday in October, which, for those of us with kids, there's soccer and all those like fall sports, and sometimes you kind of have to pick and choose which ones are, what activities you can pass up and which ones you can't. So, hey, Isaac. Oh, awesome. Yeah, definitely look forward to meeting a lot of obviously a lot of folks here that support the channel, but it'll also be the first time that I'll have a chance to meet some of the other folks like Justin, Jesper, Kirby, and just some of the other shoemakers. Like, well, not other shoemakers. I'm not a shoemaker, but I think like TLB Majorca is going to be there, and I'm bad with remembering all these things, but yeah, it'll be pretty cool to just kind of see like what the response is, because I know they've done this in London a few years already, and they did it a few years like before the pandemic and stuff. So this will be the first one in the States, and while there's definitely like a strong presence in the menswear and traditional like footwear community online, it's always just a completely different like dynamic to be part of that in person. So probably have to redo everything that I'm doing right now Saturday morning as I'm setting up, but we'll try to cut some of that work in half right now. I'll see if I can stay on camera while I'm doing it. Oh, nice. What pair do you have from Acme, Isaac? You may have like told me at some point in one of the comments, but I will definitely be wearing a pair of Acme, and that's not like a requirement of Acme. That's just the fact that my newest pair of boots from them is definitely like my favorite shoe. Let me finish buffing this up, and then I will bring those over and share those. The hatch grain boots. There's definitely like a few that are coming to mind. Like I have a pair of hatch grain Chelsea boots. Oh, the hatch grain Chelsea boots. Is that it, Isaac? Hopefully. I love those. I kind of went through like not a phase, but kind of went through like a bit of a journey with like Chelsea boots, where I was kind of like, excuse me, kind of like on the fence with them, and then I think I got a pair from J Fitzpatrick, and then I got that pair from Acme, and kind of fell back in love with them, and have continued to expand, or hope to continue to expand and add a few more pairs too. A few more pairs of like Chelsea boots there. All right. I think that's probably fair enough. We'll pick that shine up in the morning. In the morning, not in the morning. I gotta put this shoe somewhere. We'll protect this guy. Let's see. Split toe lace up. Do I have that boot? Do I have a split toe lace up in hatch grain? Sorry, Isaac. I'm probably like completely losing my mind here, but let me just get these out of the way. All right. So let me just tackle this Chelsea boot here, and while we're tackling that thing, this is my pair of. I misspoke. We're not going to tackle this right now. All right, so this is my newest pair from Acme, and this was a pair that they like made for me and shipped like with the pairs for the trunk show. This is a Color 6 fall wingtip boot. I'll link the unboxing video and stuff like in the description there. Need to brush these off, but this is besides just like the sheer like beauty that like is this boot that is this boot. Color 6 shell cordovan, just a very like sleek lower like angle cut boot. Let me brush this wax off as I'm talking because it's kind of driving me crazy here. So the fall wingtip boot here is what is like got me like really excited about this. And what I mean by that is, most of you probably like know this anyway, but just in case, normally like a wingtip pattern, like this is a separate pattern piece, but in a fall wingtip, the wingtip pattern is just like sewn and punched in to the single piece of leather. So this is basically like a plain toe boot, and then they just are punching and stitching this like wingtip pattern into that single piece of leather on the vamp. I got a little over zealous there with the how close this got to the camera there, but same thing on like the rest of the pattern. So it's just like this rear quarter piece of the leather, and then the vamp or the forefoot. Then all the detail is actually just like punched in and stitched in to the single piece of leather that's creating the two different pattern pieces. So it just makes for a pretty special like detail that, you know, most aren't going to notice, but I think it looks pretty cool. Yeah, so I think I know which one you're talking about. Let me see. I'm probably not going to get like any of my shoe shining done here, but who cares? All right, so I think I know the. So it's. See if I can't find. Making all kinds of noise over here, huh? Yeah, it's basically like a split toe derby, but it is a ankle boot, and it's in hatch green. I think I know the one that you're talking about. I don't have one though. I would love to. If they want to send me a pair, I would love to have them. But I don't know if this is the one that you are thinking of, Isaac. Is that it, or similar to that? Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, it's a pretty like awesome boot. I can't remember. So it's definitely a boot that I would love to have. I just don't have it. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to have every boot, I just I can't. So, but this is definitely one that I'm thrilled to have, and probably for no other reason than just I absolutely like love wearing this one. This is probably what I'm going to be wearing on Saturday. I got to fix that up, but I'll save everybody the pain of having to watch me brush the same pair of shoes over and over again, and we'll kind of move on to some of the other pairs here. All right, so see if I can find, not that they aren't all exciting, but see if I can find a few unique ones in the suitcase here. Let me see 1 second here, guys. Let's see if I can give you a peek into what I'm talking about. Bear with me as I grab the camera here. All right, so apologies for the noise that I may have just caused, but so I guess that was my arm, but there you go. So it's like a whole nice suitcase of nice little suitcase full of shoes, and there's a whole bunch of them down there. I think it's like 30 some odd pairs. Well, not pairs. Definitely not pairs. 30 some odd left shoes, because these are all parts of their like sample and displays So, yeah, but either way, like, it's pretty, pretty cool to have all those that I can, get some like hands-on experience with, and figured like, why not share that with everyone? Sorry, Frank, let me, oh yeah, I think we've been chatting about your pair of, Pro II boots, right? Yeah, they are right here. Here are mine. So this is not Acme. This is not part of the trunk show. This is very dirty. I need to clean these, which is why they were right here. But yeah, love this boot. Right here. This one. Yeah. How have you been liking yours so far? So one of the cool things I probably should have brought up earlier, and I have to, I'm going to touch up a lot of these too, but this shoe right here, there we go. So this shoe right here, which if you look at this, is pretty special in and of itself, because this is just this is a cap toe, and then it's got a vamp, and then it's got a seamless heel. So this shoe has a seamless heel, and this is their trial fitting shoe. So yeah, like it got a little like smashed, but like I'm gonna kind of touch some of this up, and I don't work for Acme, but there are an entire like set of trial fitting shoes that I'll be bringing to the trunk show. So if you want to buy, or if you wanted to buy a pair forever and just haven't been able to get over like what's the right size, or just get over like the, any like pause or hesitation that you have with like not knowing your size, we'll have a whole set of trial fitting shoes, and that's the best. Obviously, that's the best way to figure out what your size is. So I have to straighten out some of the details on my end, just so that I have the right expectations as far as like if you wanted to like purchase a pair of trial fitting shoes, even if you're not at the trunk show, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it's not just like sample pairs that you can kind of like touch and feel the quality. There will be pairs that you can try on if you need to kind of get your size locked in, and it should be like the whole range of sizes. This is a size 7, and I'm not sure why the size of this one matters that much, but yeah, the whole range of sizes will be there. Where did I put that bag? Oh, there we go. All right, let me grab a few of the pairs here that are my favorite, just to, I think I just did that, but bear with me here. The ironic thing is, like, I was doing this tonight to like clean up and organize it, and I'm actually like doing the exact opposite of that. And sorry, let me fix this angle here somehow. I got a little off kilter there. Sorry about that. Apologies for the shaking, but I think we're back on. Track. All right, cool. So, I'll be honest. Like, this is just when I say just, this is a part of their Marvel series, which is just their. I say just. It's not just. It's fantastic stuff. But the Marvel series is their like entry level 100% handmade shoe, and this, relatively speaking, is one of the more like boring models compared to what we're looking at here. So I'm gonna hold off on taking a look at this one so that we can focus in on something I think may be a little more eye-catching for you. All right, we've got a bunch of brown shoes, but I think we like brown shoes, or at least I do. All right, cool. So this is, should we start on the right or the left? Probably nobody's gonna like answer, but I'll give everybody a couple seconds before I answer myself. And we'll go with the left. So this is a shoe that you can't see just quite yet, but there we go. And then we'll kind of like slide this over here so that you can get a nice view, and I'll move my face out of the way. And I think we'll be all set. There we go. All right, cool. So this is the, 1 second, Frank, let me finish my thought here. Otherwise, we'll be 20 minutes down the road and I'll have proceeded no further than we are right now. All right, so this is a camel leather pie crust split toe derby. Very like casual in its aesthetic. The brass eyelets there, obviously the 360-degree storm welt, like the commando sole. Luckily, they only sent me like the left shoe of each because they have the the right shoe on display at the store. But this is definitely one that if I had the full pair, like I probably would just buy and not send back to them because I just love this shoe. Like, yeah, it's not the most like formal, it's not the sleekest, it's not the most aggressive in its shape or last or anything, but just like the combination of like the ruggedness, but then also just like the subtlety of the kind of tonal color schema here. Just love everything about it. And this leather is incredibly interesting. Hopefully you can kind of get a feel for that just through the camera here, but like just the natural variation in the texture. It's everything that you would want in a naturally textured leather like this provides. It's got very nice grain structure. It's very like nice to touch, but it still has a nice like rigid and kind of like rugged feel to the leather, where like some of these like like tumbled leathers that have a similar kind of subtle texture to them are definitely like not as robust as this. Like I could see this thing really kind of being put through its paces and looking better each time you do that. I may have to just buy a pair of these because I'm kind of talking myself into loving these even more than I did. All right, so that's the one. This is like, I'll say another one where it's like everybody probably says the same thing here. Like, oh, I didn't like it as much when I saw it online, but then when you see something in person, you kind of like change your perspective on it. And I mean, it's logical that like that's what happens, because anytime you see something in person, like it's definitely gonna just kind of like reach out and grab you. And that's what's happening here. I don't know that I would wear this shoe, like, or this last. It's a bit probably like problematic from a fit perspective, but I really like love how this just like looks. This on probably a more like casual last could definitely be something like I could get on board with. What do you guys think? I've got to try and like get this like rear view. Like, look at this heel. I mean, whether you like this style of like a spectator, or you like the color, or you don't like the last, whatever it is, like it's kind of hard to deny just like how beautiful of like a shape this all is. That's pretty cool, right? All right, I'll reply here. All right, so Frank, I was amazed by the shape of the Mecca boots. Shape-wise, sorry, I'm not learning how to read. I just got this screen kind of covered here. Okay, I was amazed by the shape of the Mecca boots. Shape-wise, I rank from what I have: Mecca TLB, Carmina, RM Williams, Signature, Allen Edmonds, CJ. Have no special shape. Yeah, it's I would probably like relatively agree with that. I think like TLB definitely has some nice like definition like built into the last, and yeah, I don't really have anything to disagree with there, Frank. Ashland Leather, what's up? What's up, guys? Dan, no, not Dan. Who's I always like get not confused. I just always forget like who's like managing, if it's like Matt or not. But cool. Appreciate you guys joining. I know you guys have been like killing like the live game for like the last however long, like almost. Phil, that's right. You've been doing like live streams like almost like daily. It seems like when I say like whenever, I'm pretty much like have like YouTube open on like one device or another at all times. But yeah, it seems like you always have like a live either going on or just finishing or something to that effect, which is awesome. Probably like banging everybody's ears with that water dispenser there. But yeah, so I'm gonna see if I can actually like make some progress here on shining some of these up. But any yeah, it's definitely like a, it's a time commitment more so than just like the time that you're like on the live stream. I definitely haven't done it in a while, and I kind of severely underestimated the prep time. I think originally I said like 8 o'clock, which turned into like 9:30, and then I think I started at 10:15. So I feel it's definitely like fun to do, but you kind of forget that there's like a lot more to it than just like turning on the camera and like just jumping right into it. At least for me there is. But thank you, Phil. Yeah, sometimes like the production value is what's more like fun and challenging for me than what's actually gonna happen like once you're on the live stream. But we'll have to figure out like a happy medium between those two. All right, so this one, I forgot to even share this one. So this is bourbon Horween shell cordovan, and this is basically like the same as my like plain toe derby, but different last. And my derby is in mahogany shell cordovan, I think. This one is bourbon shell cordovan, and it's really like the first thing like I saw or came to mind like when I saw this was not bourbon. Like this is just a very like deep and like rich color. I don't know if I like knew like what color or had any idea what color like I thought this was, but now that I was told that it's bourbon, it definitely like I get it. I can see it, but it's definitely like a deeper and a richer brown than what I would have expected a bourbon to be. I don't know if Phil, I don't know if you have any opinions on if this is bourbonish or not, but it's a great shade of shell. either way. I didn't. I was hoping that they would kind of like overlap a little bit, like the Super Trunk show from like Justin Fitzpatrick and Jesper and Kirby. That's on Saturday, so I was hoping there would be an overlap when I heard about the two, and then I would already be up there and I could swing by the boot camp. But yeah, I wasn't able to make it up 2 weekends in a row, so stuck with the Super Trunk show. Yeah, that's what I was, like. I'm trying to. I guess I could like look at my messages, but like when this was like one of the first pairs that I opened, because like most of them came like very like tightly like wrapped in like bubble wrap, and then these two, like the seamless hole cut and the seamless heel, like hole cut style shell cordovan one, were kind of boxed together. So it was the first thing that I had opened, and I definitely didn't think it was bourbon. Not in a bad way, but I was just like, this is like a very like deep and like rich color that has like a lot of complexity to it, which doesn't really like, that doesn't connect the dots to like bourbon for me. Like bourbon's usually like a flatter tannish color, and this is definitely not flat, and it's definitely not like tan. But who am I to argue with anybody about what the colors are? It's pretty cool. I have to say, like Acme does some of the well, that noise didn't go over well. Oops. All right, so Acme does some of like the best shell cordovan shoes or boots that I've come across. And yeah, like I know they're expensive, but see if I can get this on camera. Like they just are very like meticulous about like color matching, and not like between different shells, but making sure that like the patterns are cut in the same direction, so that you're not getting like that table shift of kind of the color 6 going that way and then going that way in the two different pattern pieces. And honestly, like I don't know that I've seen any, like I've seen that on almost every other shoemaker that I have a pair of shell from. I've never had that happen, and I've got like I think I have over like 10 pairs of shell from Acme. So it's definitely like a sizable sample size of, yeah, like they know what they're doing and know how to like cut the pattern into it. And then also it's very, not just that the shells are consistent, but I think they do a very consistent job of keeping like the thickness of the shells consistent throughout the boot, and are just like choosing the right shells and then cutting them or clicking them the right way to produce that result, which is definitely easier said than done, just from my experience of Alden and Carmina and Crockett and Jones. Like it's not the easiest thing to kind of be able to maintain that consistency throughout the boot, but just like wearing these shoes, and even when you feel them, like every part of the two boots feel very consistent. Whereas there are other like boots that I have, like my pair of Alden, where like the one shaft that you feel is like not floppy, but it doesn't have like a lot of rigidity to it, and the other one is like super stiff. And I think it's just kind of like the thickness of the shell, or just the location maybe was different where they came from. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the reasons that I obviously like have as many pairs of shell from Acme as I do, and that's because they just do it very well. Thank you, Phil. Color 6 is like, it was like one of those like colors that like kind of like fly under the radar, where most people like just don't talk about it. And when like I was just kind of like, you know what, like I've kind of tried all the other colors, let's like try color 6. I was just like shocked at how it's just like it's like the perfect shade of like the mid, you know, burgundy-ish brown that everyone like wants color 8 to be, and it just never is. It's always like black. Like color 6 is what everyone describes color 8 as. Like it's actually that color. Hey, Duran. Does Acme? So yeah, for their for the Acme series, they use Horween shell cordovan. I think per like request, they could get shells from a different tannery. I think like they, at least just informally discussing the topic with them, I think they've had a few folks that wanted like a very consistent color and like wanted shell cordovan, but they didn't want like the natural depth that comes with like a pair of like shell cordovan shoes or boots like you see here, where you've got a lot of like depth in the color. They wanted like more of like a calfskin color spectrum on a pair of shell cordovan. So I think they said like just for that customer's request, they got a pair of shells from Italy, I think, because it just like they tan that shell differently and it just produces like a flatter color, and that's what the customer wanted. And I guess it was like a bespoke or made to measure order, so it was just kind of like part of that thing. But like if you like look on their website and you're looking at any of their like ready to wear models that have shell cordovan, it's Horween shell cordovan. Hopefully that was like a long roundabout way of answering your question. Let's see. All right, I think those are about good to go. Let me finish up this chuckle boot here. Yeah, man, I appreciate it, Phil. Thank you for stopping by. We'll have to do one of these together in the not too distant future, man. Enjoy your night. Let's see. So I've been talking about shining this boot since we started, so I figured let's get around to it. I don't know if anybody is ever curious, but these are primarily like the shine cloths that I use, just the Mason and Smith. I think these are actually like their more recent premium version of their shine cloths. I forget how much they are, but they're not that expensive. The only thing I don't like about them is they're kind of like quote unquote disposable. They don't really like recommend washing them, which I get because like just from use, you can see like how the threads are kind of like coming off on the sides because it's just like a high quality like flanneled cotton, I guess, and you know, they're not like finishing the edges. It's like a couple of bucks maybe like per shine cloth, so like you wash it, it's just gonna kind of like fall apart since there's nothing like holding the edges together, I guess. But except for the disposable nature of them, definitely like my go-to shine cloths, simply because they do very well. They do a really good job at actually like shining the leather. I don't get that many streaks when I'm buffing it, and it also works as a pretty nice like plush kind of like cleaning cloth as well. So I'll use like the middle of the rag to kind of clean some stuff off, and then primarily use like the edges to buff everything to a shine. And again, I don't know if anybody asked or was curious. All I'm doing here is because of like the way that Pure Polish is formulated. It's a very natural product, and there's not a lot of artificial like shelf stabilizers in it. So if you just like leave it exposed to like the room air, or just, I guess, any air, it'll start to kind of get a little bit of like oxidation on the top, and I just like kind of heat it up with either my fingertip, or in this case one of the old shine cloths, and then you kind of get that nice like you get a little bit more of that like nice like softer, wetter wax, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Whoops, I'm making a lot of noise. Sorry about that. All right. Anybody? I know I've seen a few folks kind of hop on and hop off, and maybe hop on again, or others hop on. Anybody else planning on going to the trunk show? I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I remember the name here. May have missed a comment here or two, but I know Frank is going. I think Isaac said that they are going. I think I missed a comment here. Beards Brothers, thank you very much. If you're hopefully you're still hanging around and I didn't completely miss saying hey, but would definitely let me do this while I'm going to find another reason to kind of procrastinate on shining the things that I said I would shine, and let's do this. 1 second, please. All right, so the Super Trunk Show. This is not the one I'm talking about. Let's see if we can't find. How is it not like front and center? Ah, there we go. Maybe it is front and center. Who knows? All right, so this is what I'm talking about for those that maybe are just joining or have been on the whole time and I just never mentioned it. It is the New York City Super Trunk Show this Saturday, October 14th. The platinum sponsor is Bridlin. Yeah, Bridlin. Bootmakers and shoemakers, and then also with Kirby Allison, Saphir. The gold sponsors, Acme Shoemaker and TLB Majorca. I am going to be there for Acme Shoemaker, and I'll be representing, Acme, as well as kind of managing their table and all their display shoes. They're not display shoes, they're sample shoes, they're real shoes, as well as their trial fitting shoes. We'll have those as well. When I say well, it's just kind of a term of endearment for myself, I guess. There's only one of me, and I'm not part of Acme, just kind of collaborating for the event. Then here you got all the silver sponsors, but it has the details here about the times as well as the location. Obviously, I'm not doing a very good job about remembering that, but let's see. Learn more here. Here we go. So this is where the Super Trunk Show will be. I don't know that I can pronounce that off the top of my head. And then it is 11 to 5:15. Is that what it is? Sorry, 11 to 7. 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And the U.S. Championship of Shoe Shining will be at 3 to 3:30. And, it's just, I guess the rest of the time, everybody gets to enjoy the shoes. I am definitely I'm really looking forward to it. This is I think Acme's table from the London Super Trunk Show, and I think normally that they definitely participate in all of the recent trunk shows over the last couple of years. It's just like they haven't really been able. Not that they haven't. I think they just have chosen not to travel for those trunk shows. So they're usually just like sending all of these shoes to one of the organizers to set up the table, and then they just kind of like let the table speak for itself. This one, obviously, just because of the proximity of where I am and where the trunk show is, and the kind of natural relationship that I've built with Acme since their inception as a company, I guess is not the right way to say it, but that relation is just like a natural pairing where I love the shoes. I'm an existing customer as well as a kind of informal business partner from time to time, so it just made sense to kind of have a win-win there where I can go to the trunk show and meet, hang out with everyone, and then they can also have a real client of theirs kind of sing the praises and some of the great things about their shoes. So again, long-winded there if you guys haven't picked up on that before, but yeah, so that's it. I'll drop this link in the comments or in the description of the video so that folks can just read that for themselves maybe, but I'll try and actually like shine a pair of shoes here in a second. Nubar, hopefully pronouncing that correctly. I just ordered a pair of shell cordovan shoes from Acme. I'm hearing you are leading a GMTO. So yeah, and actually like thanks for bringing that up and kind of like jogging my memory of a few things. So the GMTO, essentially, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Nubar, but the one of the benefits of like going to the Super Trunk Show is that it's not only a opportunity to meet people in person and interact with them that you normally wouldn't get that opportunity, but normally like the shoemakers will offer some type of special deal or special availability of something that folks that aren't at the Super Trunk Show that they can get. So I think that's probably what we're talking about here, or what Nubar is alluding to. I don't necessarily have the details right now to share, but if you are going to the Super Trunk Show, the intent is that whether it's a GMTO, a group made to order, or just an individual, like made to order, individual ready to wear offer, that there will be some, limited deal, special, something to that effect that is offered to those that are at the trunk show. I'll see if I can. So yeah, that's the one thing. I think that's what you're hinting at with the GMTO. The other aspect of that is, I definitely hope to kind of do this type of thing while I'm at the trunk show. Not shine shoes, but maybe like live stream. Definitely record a lot of it so I can share that afterwards, after the fact with everyone. But I definitely want to try and like live stream at least parts of the trunk show to kind of bring folks along in real time. Again, I kind of just enjoy like the production aspect of it all, but I'll see if I can share any of that information maybe like on one of those like live streams as well, just to offer that. But I can't like promise any of these specials or deals, just because I'm not the shoemaker. I'm just helping out. But hopefully that probably didn't provide any clarity to what you were asking about Nubar, but hopefully it at least like made sense that yes, there should be a special that will be available for those that are at the trunk show, and I'm going to live stream while I'm there, and I'll see if I can extend any of the specials, if there are any, to the folks that are actively on that live stream with me. Hey, Mark. Thanks for joining. Love the emojis. Is that a nose or a tongue? That is definitely a weird question to just ask open-ended like that, huh? So here's a question from Mark. Any recommendations for a cap-toe field boot with a storm welt or a Velstron welt? I think I pronounced that correctly, Velstron welt. Or not Velstron welt, just Velstron construction. All right, cap-toe field boot. Is that right? Cap-toe field boot. And when you say field boot, are we talking about like a kind of an Edward Green Galway type field boot, or like a Crockett and Jones Coniston type field boot, or is there another particular style or pattern that's the reference material that comes to mind? And if so, just like throw it in the chat and I'll see if I can like Google it, kind of pull it up if I don't know what it is. But I just ask because like the field boot term can sometimes be like more broadly applied, something like constant. So I would, this is it's probably only like surprising to me, but what I was going to say is, if it's between, and sorry, I keep like banging this, but I gotta try and get some progress. So, up until maybe like the last year, if it was ever between like Carmina and Crockett and Jones, I would have always been like Carmina. And maybe I would still say that, but in the last year, I would not say that. I would say Crockett and Jones. I have a pair like the Harvard unlined penny loafers, and it's the only experience I have with Crockett and Jones. But like, it's a classic style and pattern for a reason, and like theirs is kind of that reference material for it. So it's like, yeah, maybe the Alden one is, but honestly, like it's many of the other shoemakers are being inspired by the Harvard. I think it's the same with like the Coniston, and I think like some of the things that like Crockett and Jones does very well is for like those classic like archetype styles and patterns and really like foundational shoes. They do those as well, if not better, than the newer shoemakers or brands do. It's going to be just like very well made. It's going to have kind of all those foundational like shoemaking elements filled in. It's going to be a very like refined look, and last obviously a very very long time with high quality materials. Not, and I don't mean to imply that like Carmina's would not be any of that, but I just think with like the current like trend of where at least my experiences have been with those two brands, I think aesthetically, it may just come down to a personal preference, but objectively, not objectively, but just like from my opinion, I think the overall package, you're in a better spot with Crockett and Jones. Now, if you wanted, with the Crockett and Jones Coniston, now if you wanted to step more out of the like heritage realm and look at some other like shoemakers that offer a similar style. Like I love it's not a cap toe, it's just a plain toe service boot from Tread Heavily Shoemaker. It's hand welded or not hand welded, stitched down construction, but like Horween hatch grain, completely handmade, just a very solid, rugged boot. And this water dispenser is driving me crazy. But yeah, like I love that. I would definitely recommend that over Crockett and Jones, but they're two different like animals, if that makes any sense. Not just like the leather is two different animals, but like just the product. Like you're going a fully handmade shoe versus like a factory made shoe, a heritage brand versus a very new brand. So it's just kind of like, what's your appetite for one versus the other? But just, looking at the materials, the details, the execution, I think you're getting, a little bit more by going with a brand of that stature, where it's just a newer one that's doing everything by hand and kind of saving some of the costs just due to some, basically like less overhead than like a Crockett and Jones is going to have. A very a very long way of answering somebody else's question, but hopefully that context kind of like help put the opinion in the right framework there. I think I may have finished this shine. Thank you, Nubar. Frank, let's see. What is your opinion on the best leather? From my experience, believe it or not, the thickest, best aging looking leather is Alan Edmonds waterproof Chili Oxford boot. I don't know that I know what that is. So let me see if I can pull that. Either way, like I guess there's like a few ways I can try to answer that here. So waterproof leather is definitely like, I don't like it. Not just like the best aging or looking, but there's very few, if any, leathers that are just naturally water resistant or waterproof. Usually that is some type of synthetic tannin that's happening in the tanning process, and I don't know, that's just not my thing. So just the fact that I would know that that's in the leather would just kind of be a turnoff to me. But removing some of the personal bias there, the best overall, like the best leather, so for me, like my favorite leather is shell cordovan. Is it the best leather? Like, I mean, I guess in my opinion, I think it's the best leather for the most like broadly applied use cases for like what I like. I mean, I'm not like insane. Like I realize that that's not the case for everyone. But if we're just saying like objectively, like what shoemaker or what type of leather, what animal, I guess maybe like that's like, what are you looking for, Frank? Because like, you know, there are just so many leathers. I don't know that you can ever answer the question, like, what is the best leather? Maybe you can expand on that and I can try and answer it. Mark, what do I think about leaving cordovan in the sunlight? I don't know. I'm not just like a party pooper here. I mean, it's fine if like people want to do it. I don't care. I wouldn't do it. That is like you're not like cleaning the leather. You're making like a permanent change to it. And most of the time they're doing that to like uncover or like lighten the shell. The problem is like shell is a very transparent leather just by nature. And I think what many people don't realize, or maybe they do and they just don't mind it, but like many of the darker colors are darker for a reason, and it's because there are different kind of, not scars, but just different spots on the leather that like you otherwise, you know, if this was like done in natural, like they didn't add any pigment when they tanned it, you would see all that. I think there's even more of a spot over here. Like when I'm setting up like a video like this and I have like a bunch of like bright lights on, you know, I can kind of like manipulate the angles so that you can see that kind of stuff here. Normally, like you wouldn't see this in daylight or just normal like office light. Like you're not going to see this. A very like bright studio light like this, you'll see it. But I say that because when you go to lighten the shell or you put it out in the sunlight and you're like, I'm going to turn this color 8 into color 4, you're going to uncover things, and it's not going to just be like the exact thing that you had lighter. Like the UV rays react with any of the products that you have on the shell or in the shell, and it oxidizes things. Like it's not a predictable result, and it just feels like one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to wash my jeans and I'm just going to see what happens. Like knowing just like very like you go into doing something like that very like well intentioned, but you should just do a simple Google search and you would realize that like not washing your jeans is actually like the worst thing that you can do for the jeans, because the dirt and grime and bacteria like break down the fibers. So it's like a similar thing. Exposing shell cordovan to like a harsh, steady UV sunlight like that for an extended period of time is definitely going to have some negative effects on the shell. It may get the aesthetic or the color or whatever it is that you're going for, and if that's the reason that you're doing it and you're fine with all the other, potential downsides, like it doesn't bother me. Like I just wouldn't do that. Yeah, hopefully that answered it. But yeah, sorry, I think Frank, I don't know, unfortunately, that I'm gonna be able to answer the question that you had there. Just like the best leather, that's just it's a difficult one. If you want to say like the best dress shoe leather, I might be able to answer that, or like the best rugged boot leather, or I don't know. I need some like qualifier before or after best and before leather. I need some type of qualifier to narrow the focus, and I might be able to answer it. Hey, sorry. Never connected that before. Connected. I just said a lot. I know I kind of rambled on. The tanning of shell, or not tanning, the sunning of shell cordovan. Is that what you're referencing there? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a popular. I don't know if popular is the right thing. I think it's one of those things that, like with social media today, like one or two larger accounts will do something like that, and they'll get like a good result, and then everyone's like, oh my god, that's got to be so easy. He left his shoes like outside for like a day, and look at them. But meanwhile, he may have been doing it for like the last year, and maybe he did it very like particularly with like a very like strict set of like circumstances, and that all that information just didn't make its way into that social media post, or maybe it did. I think it's just kind of like, it's a very risky move if you're in the position where like you want to take the risk, or you don't care and you have plenty of shoes and you're just kind of like looking to see what happens, right? Or even if you don't want to take the risk and you do it anyway, I think it's just like knowing, kind of like just take a couple minutes and like look into some of the stuff like that before you do it. It's more often than not, like, I'm sure like whoever did it kind of like planned and coordinated that out, like, very, very time consuming, and kind of a lot of planning that goes into it. Just like, what happens if it rains and you left your boots outside to tan or sun while you went to work? It's just like so many like different things that could like take what you think is going to be a very like quick and easy, like fun experience, and it just kind of turns into like a one nightmare after the other. At least that's been my type of experience when like early on I was like, oh, it's got to be like super easy to add toe plates to a shoe yourself. And I was able to do it, but it was like a weeks long process for me. So it's just like, it's not worth it. Let's see. Well, we are definitely like way beyond what I was planning to stay on for. And so I way like overshot the amount of time I was going to stream for, and way underperformed on like how many shoes I got through. But that's all right. We've still got a day. And I've still got to sleep. So suede or nubuck? So like nubuck is... So like, I mean, my thoughts on it are just like with all the other leathers, like there's always like a time and a place for it. I think like this could just be my very like woefully uninformed opinion here, but when I hear nubuck and I like just think of it, I think more of like casual, like slippers or like Uggs or that type of shoe. Like I don't know, like Clark's, that type of stuff. Like is nubuck like a kind of leather that a lot of like traditional shoemakers are using? I don't know. But just I get that like nubuck kind of like falls into like the suede umbrella, so I'll just stop the rabbit hole here and answer that. So yeah, I mean, I think suede is great. It's definitely the easiest shoe to kind of like wear in the rain if it's a nice suede. Obviously, like a split suede or just a low grade, low quality raw material that came into the suede is going to be like problematic, just like it's going to be in a smooth leather. But if it's a quality suede, I love it. It's basically just like the reverse side of a smooth calfskin. It's just the suede side or the flesh side. So yeah, I like it. I think many people kind of think it's more delicate than it is. Suede is definitely a pretty like robust leather, and the only thing that's kind of the downside, and I may have explained this in one of the podcasts recently, but the only thing that like I don't find super attractive about suede is like I like kind of the hands-on, part of having nice shoes. Obviously, I love like wearing them, but then I also like the process of like the hands-on care and just getting to kind of like hold, this like very like well-made piece of, craftsmanship. And like with the suede shoe, like you don't kind of like get that much interaction with it, or there's just not really a point to, you're not gonna like shine it or condition it. So that's kind of always the not the downside of suede, but just kind of one of the reasons that I it's not like a favorite of mine. But from just a purely objective perspective, like suede is definitely a fantastic, versatile choice for any pair of shoes. You don't have to really like worry about the maintenance too much. It can be very easy to wear in inclement weather, but then it also looks very like elegant and refined, in different kind of like business casual environments. So I'm a fan, kind of. All right, I think we're about done there. I shined this up and then I messed it up, so I had to fix that. And great way to wrap up the live stream is just a non-focusing. There we go. Non-focusing shot of the shine. All right, one last question here. Let's see, Frank. I meant thick, solid cuts. I like chunky leather on shoes. And sorry, getting distracted here. Okay. I meant thick, solid cuts. I like chunky leather on shoes, and I felt TLB were really thin. Love the shape, but not as chunky as my CJ and AE. Yeah, so like maybe like is the question like who uses the best leather? If that's the question. Or similar in line, because I think I'm following now where, like thickness does not equal quality. So it's not like just like the thicker the better or the thinner the worse. There's like multiple things that go into that, and just because something like feels thick, it could be for a variety of reasons. Like it could be the not the lining, but the structural like fabric that goes in, that some shoemakers put like in between the leather upper and the lining. Some people like have that third layer of material in there, so like that could just give you that perception that it's a much thicker leather. other times, like thicker leathers are going to be, more from older animals. Typically, like the finer, thinner leathers, are from the younger animals, and it's like that's the calf skin versus like the steer hide or like horse hide leathers. Like usually those steer hides, horse hide category of leathers are like the thicker, more like substantial pieces of leathers, and those are usually not used on dress shoes. Those are usually on like work boots or maybe like a particular style of like a dress shoe, but more of a work boot look for a dress shoe, if that makes any sense. But yeah, like it's definitely a few things that could go into why one is thicker than the other, and there's definitely like a subjective element to it. Some leathers are going to crease differently, and like the thickness could play a factor in that, but like that could also be a completely like meaningless detail as well. It's kind of hard to boil it down to just a simple like yes or no type of thing. I would probably just like take like the generic like rule of thumb of like usually like the dress shoes, so like TLB, Carmina, Crockett and Jones on their like dress shoes. Definitely like Acme. You're gonna see very like tight pore structures, very like high quality, very like substantial leathers, but the thickness is not going to be like what you're talking about from Allen Edmonds. The thicker leathers are not necessarily a bad thing, but that's again, it's not always the leather. But when we just objectively say like a thicker cut of leather, that's usually for a more robust type of footwear, or like a bag or a backpack or a jacket. Most people just aren't using thick leathers by themselves like for shoes, because it just creates a very like weird feel on your foot to have a really like thick piece of leather. That's usually what you'll see on like Red Wing boots or that kind of thing. So it's very possible like on the boot from Crockett and Jones, or on the more casual lines from Allen Edmonds, you're getting that really thick leather. But more than likely, the reason that you may think like the leather on like the dress shoes from Allen Edmonds is thicker is probably because like the backing and the lining that they're using, just that totals up to be thicker than what you see on TLB, because TLB is just a very like fine, high quality leather upper, and I don't believe that they're putting too much in between the lining and the upper. But you could always like cut the shoe open to prove me wrong. Okay, last question, Nubar. Let me read that again. Who do you think makes the best shell cordovan belts? I have a shell cordovan belt from Carmina that I like. I have one from Alden that I don't like at all. I don't have one from Ashland. Like, I could just kind of go through the list. I like the one from Carmina. That said, I'm not really a fan of shell cordovan belts. I'm not a fan of belts in general. Like, I prefer like the tabbed waists. The tabbed waist. For like a trouser, even like a casual chino. So like if I can avoid wearing a belt, like I'll do that. I'm not gonna wear like elastic jeans. Maybe I could. Anyway, back to the question. Shell cordovan is just a tough material for a belt. Like it's very, it's like a watch strap. So one of the reasons I liked it, but I didn't like it, is that it just becomes it absorbs everything that you put it through. So like very quickly you could have a very clean, vibrant, elegant looking belt, and then the next thing you know, like just life happens to it, and it just doesn't have that clean look anymore, and you have to care for it a lot. A lot of the cow hides or the steer hides that go into belts are just a little more like treated and really like belt intended leathers, I guess. So you know, it kind of takes some of the maintenance of your belt out of the equation, which I don't know. If I'm going to care for the leather, I'd rather care for leather dress shoes or like a leather, you know, duffel bag or a jacket. I don't really want to be caring for the leather on my belt. So that's why I wasn't a fan of shell cordovan belts. But to answer your question, I would go with Carmina. Maybe the only time I'll recommend Carmina right now, but I really liked their belts, the two that I have from them. I actually, if I wear a belt, it's one of those two. Hopefully that was a helpful, like, roundabout answer. But any other questions, definitely like still like put them in the video here, and I will get back to them. I will do my best to reply as soon as you put them up, and then probably nothing tomorrow, but then on Saturday we'll kind of have a couple like live videos throughout the day, and then kind of do a like a full length, like maybe not review, but just like feature of like the entire day of the trunk show the week after the trunk show. So look forward to meeting you guys that are going to be there, and everyone else, thanks for sticking around, and look forward to sharing the results of the trunk show with everyone. Have a good night, guys.